No, no, that was the mural I helped paint in my neighborhood.
Oh,
So I got a sticker for that. Yeah, it's on the ground right by the Amtrak station when you come out, the Oakland Roots pattern from their soccer jerseys. Yeah,
Thought it looked us.
looks familiar, yeah.
Cool. Does it?
You know, right? It's a lot like Command Central.
Oh, right. Oh, this is that one.
I'm just logging in right now.
Great.
Dan said he's gonna be late. Let me. I'm gonna turn audio on. There she is. Let me promote her to the panelist. Yeah. There she is. Okay, we're just waiting on Dan. Whenever you're ready to call us to order, you can. There she is. Hi, Anise.
Right.
Hi,
We're gonna go ahead and
everyone.
get started.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me turn the volume up. I guess that would help. Sorry. There we go.
All right, welcome everyone, to Healthcare District Board meeting, special meeting. We can go ahead and have, roll call, please.
Why do we have an echo? Director Smith,
Here.
Director Rogers,
Here.
Director Perezkiel.
Here.
Director Logston. Secretary Delara,
Here.
Vice President Rodriguez.
Here.
President Barraza.
Here. Maybe you can please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Flag should be on the left.
You do say that.
Thank you. Thank you for the other building. All right, now, C, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Item D, public comment. At this time, comments from the audience.
You have to do roll call now. We have a remote person
For the approval of the agenda.
for anything.
All right, go ahead, Kimberly.
So, really, since we have remote participation from a board member, do we need to do,
No, because her address is on the agenda. Her address is on the agenda as well as Director
Yeah,
Logston.
but that means you have to do verbal roll call. Whenever there's that remote board member.
Director Smith? We're approving the agenda. Director Rogers? Director Perezkiel?
yes.
Director Logston? Secretary Delara?
Yes,
Vice President Rodriguez?
Yes.
President Barraza?
Yes, thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and go for public comments. At this time, comments from the audience may be made on items not listed in the agenda that are of public interest and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the district. The board has a policy of limiting speakers to no more than 3 minutes. The board cannot take action on items not listed in the agenda. Public input may be offered on agenda items when they come up for discussion and or action. Do we have any public comments?
We do.
Hi, welcome.
I just wanted to say the community workshop that you did and well, release on Delta Hot Springs. It was very good. I wish more people had attended, but it was very good. I had thought that the consultants would have tried to lead people into answering. That wasn't true. And it was a very good presentation. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you for the records. Now, a name?
Oh. Jan Fly, resident of Desert Hot Springs.
Thank you, Brandon. Alrighty, any other public comments?
No.
Troublemaker.
So good.
Okay,
Love them.
up next, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI session 2. Sindri, take it away.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here virtually and in person. Now, I always come here and I feel so humbled by the mission that you have and the people that you are. So I just want to express my gratitude as we kick off here. And we're going to be building on what we did the last session and doing some, some different things as well. Oh, that's not working. You have any trouble with that? There we go. So I'll give a little bit of an update on our agenda and look here, and then I'm going to ask you to check in on these thoughts so they're there for you to start noodling on. But I want to remind you of our working norms first and have a look there and ask yourselves, are they still working for us? Is there anything you'd like to change? How well do you think you've been modeling that in our sessions around DEI? Comments on your norms here? You still work? Still there? Still good?
Yes, so good.
All right. I won't do a roll call, but.
Yeah.
And then a reminder of your values, and we added Daniel's as well here. Thanks to him for bringing them in. I did notice that the big word was compassion, actually. That's repeated quite a lot of times in your various, it's good to have variety for sure and diversity of values, but it's really at the core, there's a lot of compassion that you're feeling. And what does that say about how you operate? I'm just curious, how does it feel to act from compassion for you in your roles?
I think it's our grant process, and the reward is the good you do in the community, and the staff is very good about bringing out what the results are. So, for instance, at our last meeting, we had one of the mammogram patients that is a cancer survivor, and we caught her cancer at one of our clinics.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you. It also, I think, speaks to you not coming in like we're saving you, right? But coming in really being beside people in what they're trying to do. I really have that strong image when I think of compassion as, working with, but not trying to lead or push or save people.
For me, I think it's that even though we are public funds that we're administering, so we're government, but at the same time, we care about people. We go beyond just the rules. We know what the rules are. We're trying to work within the rules to help people.
Nice. Yeah, great. Great description of it. Wonderful. So we're going to hold these, keep kind of our sense of the values that drive this team here. And our agenda today is, we've already done this today. We're going to do a quick check-in, just hear how you're arriving and have a little prompt around that. Then we'll really spend the majority of time on the DISC assessment. And I want to say right away, I have this sort of healthy skepticism about these kinds of models and things like that. But I think DISC is really good because it centers on behaviors and how you behave given what's behind those behaviors. So it helps people really understand why you behave the way that you do. So thank you again for all working with that. And we'll touch on deepening trust. You don't have a big trust issue or anything, but it did come up in the interviews that there could be more trust between members of the team. So we'll have a look at trust and how that operates and do a little bit around that. And I think that's all we'll have time for. And then we'll be into our key takeaways. Always want to be sure you come away with some insider action that's meaningful for you. It for there. So shall we go to our check-in and just to again go around, someone can start, and just how are you arriving? How do you feel coming in here?
Anise has her hand up, so I don't know if that's because she wants to start, but I'm just.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see her.
Is that right, Anise? Or maybe I saw a little hand over there, but it could not have been.
No, it wasn't a hand, but I'm happy to start.
Hey.
Yeah, sure. So how am I arriving? I'm arriving today pretty energized. I enjoyed our first session. What was valuable from that last session, I liked seeing that kind of that unifying, I guess you could say, value, right? You're talking about compassion, and you saw that a lot. But I also enjoyed seeing like what the differences were, because there were a couple I was like, oh yeah, I don't know, like, would I have picked that, or maybe I should have picked that, right? And it really kind of got my wheels turning, and I appreciate that, the things that we share and the differences that we also have, how they can work together. So I thought that was valuable. And no questions quite yet, maybe later in the session, but my thoughts are just that, I think this is an opportunity for us to really dig deep on these various issues in ways that we may not always be able to, right? Because we're dealing with, some pretty heavy issues, things that require a lot of, allow analysis and time and thought. And so it's good to take this time that we have now to actually reflect and really get into, how we can work better together as a team. And those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Awesome. Who's next? Pointing.
I vote for Letty.
I'm arriving, with just, I feel like we're in good hands, Sindri. I'm not just saying this because, you're here, but, you're already getting to know us, and how we work with each other. And you are leading us through this without, who was it that said it? Jan said, you don't really make us say anything, but you're getting the most out of us to, so I think I'm very optimistic that when we are through tonight, that we'll have something positive to show for it. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I feel humbled. We just go around
Oh, to that.
nominating Greg.
I'll go, yes.
No, you're.
It's the fiance, sorry, but I'm arriving optimistic. I really enjoyed the interview process that you and I went through. So it provides a lot more context. I'll echo Anissa's sentiment about I really enjoyed the first session on what was valuable from the last session, especially the values and the commonalities. And then I don't really have any questions. I just think my thoughts would be is how do we take what we're discussing here this evening and just advance the camaraderie and trust aspect. And I don't think just amongst the board, and I know we'll be doing the interaction with the staff later, but I think that's really where there'll be a more holistic approach to that.
So thank you. Thank you.
I'm happy we're starting the week, on the right foot. Excited about the second session. I'm really looking forward to seeing the comparison and where we all kind of fall within the disc. And within disc. And also learning, it interests me because I always like to see how, not that it's a comparison, but learning how others think, how others operate so that I can not necessarily accommodate myself, but to at least have an understanding. And I think that will really help us as we're moving forward within our dynamics and relationships with our colleagues.
Well, you're in the right room. That's all I do.
Okay, well, I'm arriving, I think, happy and optimistic about seeing where this leads us. I think it's a good thing that we're doing so that we can kind of, we don't really have a whole lot of problems as it is, we don't disagree too much. We learn to, try to figure out what's going on and stuff. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how we can collaborate better, together. And I'm excited to see what happens from here on.
I think everybody said what I wanted to say. But I'm energized, looking forward to completing our task and seeing where this goes. I learned a lot from the last session. I just love the interpersonal stuff to get to know everybody better and what makes them tick. And looking forward to how I can work better with my board members as well.
I think it says so much about this group that you're savvy to how important that interpersonal level is. I've worked with boards where it's so business-like. You got to do your business, but it's it's to deepen into relationships. So you have smoother conversations, you listen to each other better, and then you end up with a better output. So you're already, well advanced in that. And we're just, I think, really enhancing it with some more, and more insight into how each person operates. Before we get into the discs directly, I wanted to share a little bit of research I came across. I was like, there's got to be something out there. I'm one of those, data, like I love to go look at stuff like this. There's got to be a white paper or whatever. Sure enough, there's an organization called Boardsy that specializes, it's been around for quite a long time, specializing in research on boards from all kinds of angles. And they literally had something called inclusive boards, and they defined it. So I thought, I've got to share that with you. So normalizing vulnerability. And it struck me that last time when we were doing the values and how deep and open you each were with each other. And I had put this isn't necessarily a value, but I put that here to remind myself that right at the center of this exercise was so much vulnerability that you were showing to each other. So like, well, check. And they recommend a kind of normalization of it with a quick check-in or reflective question in the beginning, which is a protocol you all could just do on your own. You don't need consultants to do that. So it continues to bring the whole self, to the meeting. And I'll just keep going, but of course, if you have a response or question, chime in. Modeling candor with compassion. See what I'm talking about? This is quote, I just cut and paste. Feedback is direct, but never dehumanizing, and people are safe to speak and be challenged. My guess is you can still improve on feedback a little bit, not that you're dehumanizing anybody, but that maybe you could give each other more feedback, more helpful feedback. So we'll be looking at that a little bit. And honoring values over ego. I think that's, check that box as well. Decisions guided by shared purpose and not power plays or politics. And, this is, I think you've grown into this quite well. So, yay. Any comments or questions about that? Thoughts? There's something missing that you feel like would be an element? They miss anything? Right, well, I feel like there's sort of a charter, in some ways for the relationship aspect of your group. And I keep saying, I'm conscious that you're not exactly a team, but is it okay if I use the word team?
Oh, no,
Do you see yourselves as a team? Because, you're representing.
We're a team.
Good.
Yeah.
Even though you're
I
representing.
guess maybe to add before you do move
Yeah.
on, right? When we talk about boards, councils, commissions, you always talk like you cannot leave like the politics out of it, right? Because at the
Yeah.
end, it is. But that's something that I actually value of our board. Like, I don't necessarily see that, right? Like, I don't see like individuals, like personal interests. I'm like, I'm doing this for my own self, good, or I'm doing this because I'm up for reelection, or I'm not gonna do this because it's gonna affect me. Like, I think that which is not necessarily bad, because that is something that we should all consider. But I really do appreciate that it's not what's driving us. Well, at least not for me, and not that I like seen it, right? Because we do have to be very careful, not very careful, but keep that in mind, right? Because at the end, we are elected.
Yes.
And so if we want to continue doing the good work of the board and being part of the board, you have to be reelected. And so that is something, oftentimes people say like, oh no, like there's afraid of like politics, but in reality, how I see it, it's your way of making it to the table, to making it onto the dais, to be able to represent your community, work on, behalf of your community. So I'm not necessarily afraid of it, right? But that's something that I really do like appreciate and like about the board, that I don't feel that that's what's like driving us or driving our individual decisions, which I really do appreciate.
Thank you. And I think people really resonate with that. Denise.
Thank you. I just have a quick question before we go forward. I just wanted to make sure that I understood, because like this list here, which I think is great, normalizing vulnerability, etc., seems like those are characteristics or things that can come, I guess, when you have an inclusive board. But when you say inclusive, or when we say inclusive, what do we mean exactly? What are we talking about when we say inclusive? Or is it just kind of like a catch-all word? Like,
I do think the
That makes sense.
intention, okay. Very good. I do think the intention was to define an inclusive board. So you can tell one, you know, when you see one because they normalize it, blah, blah, blah. However, I think it's a great question to think about this board and customize that and think about the practices and protocols that you have that maybe add something to this list or certainly make these, you know, for real throughout the processes. I don't know if I've really answered your question, but we can keep digging at that. Like, I think this session is kind of about that. Any reaction? That was a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, let's carry forward. You know what? I would like you to just do this quick intro. She's got this down of the DISC
A little bit of
model.
the DISC history.
Yes, she's really done some digging and has a great way of helping you understand what this is all about and where it came from.
All right, thanks, Sindri. So it was originally created by a psychologist named William Marston, who was he was curious about emotions, behavior, but also empowerment. So that was kind of his different view into it, was what can you feel empowered to do? He was also the creator of Wonder Woman. So he was a very early feminist and specifically wanted this character to be a superhero who had empowered abilities, right? The golden lasso that would cause people to tell the truth, and, you know, her bracelets. And so it's kind of an interesting thing. It just stayed as a psychological study until 1970, when a lot of instruments were starting to be created for all of us to understand ourselves better and not have to go through psychology school or always have to be psychoanalyzed. And so in 1970, it got turned into the tool that you're using today. And so it's kind of a cool thing. There's been over 100 million people have taken DISC since that time. And there's about 1 million people a year that take it. And so it still prevails. It's kind of an interesting thing that it helps people understand their communication patterns, their needs, and even understand what can cause friction. So it's still very universally used in a lot of cultures, a lot of levels, a lot of industries. And so just thought it would be fun for you to see some of
You had the number about how many millions of people.
100 million people and 1 million people a year still continue to take it.
Well,
So you are in a very big data set.
Yeah. And I know there's been refinements along the way, just in terms of the language and even some of the structure, I think, of the model as well. So I'll quickly go through some explanation and just ground us, and then we'll get more into, you know, your results, et cetera. So drive, and again, all of these are necessary. There's not one that's better than the other. Drive is really that, you know, energy to move forward, get things done, close things down, move. Let's not waste any time. So very, very oriented in that direction. The I is all about influence. So that is influencing people through the behaviors of, this is really a good thing. See how good it is. Let's collaborate. Let's do it together. Because then, you know, I'm influencing you, you're influencing me. Brainstorming, being energized by the human interaction. That's where the ideas really pop, and it's very juicy, right? You'll probably start to think about extroversion and introversion here too. And there's definitely, you know, some connection to that model of thinking as well. The support side is the person who will really bring that calm, who can navigate through all the, you know, chaos and conversation, and aims for harmony. And I want to be really clear, harmony is not like we're all singing the same note together. Harmony is literally everybody sings their own note, and it's music. So it's, you know, kind of a lovely metaphor, I think, for what we all should be trying to do just really as people. And prefers consistency. So it doesn't mean they don't like change or they're whatever. It means if you're going to show up this way, I kind of expect you to continue to show up that way, unless you clarify why something is shifted or a process is now we're changing it. Why? And as long as the logic is good, it's fine. And the C is the conscientiousness part. Those are the people who are really emphasizing the details, and that accuracy really matters. Hold that value really strongly and be precise and analytical. So, you know, you can already start to see some tensions that can arise between these types, right? And knowing that that's about a particular type and how they might contribute, I think it really helps the coherence and just ease of working together as a team. And I didn't really define these arrows too well, but the idea of being very active and outward focused, kind of all the way down, and this is a spectrum, right? To the very reflective, we're really thoughtful and want to spend quite a lot of time before really taking action. And similarly here, the task focus, very high, let's get things done, and kind of gradates until we're more on the people focus. Is everybody coming along with us on this? Or are we going to have to clean up something, later? So is it a fairly, does it resonate? Are there questions you have about how it's looking at the world? Any, challenges to it that you're feeling?
I mean, I guess I do have a little out of curiosity. When you said that you are a little skeptic about it, is it because when on like the user side of things where like you might not want to answer correctly or was it a little?
Well, no, I don't know. I've just been sort of you're not the boss of me kind of person a lot of my life. And I'm like, you're going to tell me, and I just think we contain multitudes, like we are so complex. And so how can this really, and that's what I got, much more real with in this career where it's like, well, yeah, but it's still very of service you have to parse something to get any meaning out of it. So, and there's a lot of models, these kind of models I don't like, as I mentioned, but I think this one is very solid.
And I think it also translates, right? Because this is more like the one in the workplace, but then you see how you could be a little bit different with your family, your children, with your parents. So
context, that's the other thing I'm really big on. It's like context really does matter. So, you will find yourself showing up a little bit differently. And yet at the core, psychologically, I think this is quite valid.
And I think it's like I brought up to you too in our interview, is that some of it depends on the situation too.
Yeah.
It's not a black and white thing. It's like I said to you, I've done so many of these type of things, but this is actually one of the most realistic ones I think I've done. But again, it's because I can see myself falling into all four of these different categories.
Exactly.
Even though I might be more influential in one.
That's absolutely
giving it away right there. But again, it really depends on what the situation. To your point, it really is like work is different than family. I just sent actually my fiance to leave to take things. So, but to me, it's a really, really good indicator of who we are.
It's a good piece of data, a good piece of information to work with, and it's not the end all be all. It doesn't encompass everything. So I love the context you're putting around it. So I'd like to have some time for you to consider your individual insights, and let's see, just going to put the groups together on this one. So starting out, maybe you all have your profiles there or handy.
Some of them would have just gotten them in email, so maybe a few minutes to look at them.
And you find those.
Especially where you can see your, not only which segment you're in, but even the proximity to the center of the circle versus the outside. If you're towards the center of the circle, it's actually usually an indicator of a little more flexibility. And then if you're out towards the edge, like I am, very high DI, it's almost like you're kind of intensely that expression. So that's another way of looking at where your dot went.
Yes.
Yep.
So I can see using those because we don't have to put this together.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah. So,
but if you're gonna do small group and you want Anise to be in the group, what I'll do is Anise, if we're gonna do a breakout, what I'll do is I'll put you into a breakout room and then just bring my laptop to the person that you're gonna meet with. And that way you're not talking largely here, trying to have a breakout conversation. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna try
Let's see how it goes. Thank you.
yeah.
Is that okay, Andrea?
Oh, yes. Is that okay for us?
Say that one more time.
Is that okay? Anise is gonna be placed in a
breakout room, small group.
Like the recording purposes of the meeting.
Oh, that's a good question. But Dan's not with us, so how is that gonna work?
Well, we were gonna do it with.
We could just have her speaking out loud on the computer with somebody, but then it won't be recorded as the Zoom, but her voice will be in the room just like everyone else's.
Yeah, I don't know how we, So if there was someone that wants to do a public records request, we wouldn't have the recording.
What if we did a split where? Yeah, it's still really tricky.
We're trying to
Is there
be
any way
creative.
Isolate the sound at all, like?
We'll just ignore it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, maybe.
We should turn it down.
Way over here.
Turn it down some.
Goes way at the back of the room, and then we have a group here.
Can
Can we
we
make
just
that-
mute the sound for Desert Healthcare District and maybe have? Yeah.
And we're talking here.
And then I can just turn it up, yeah, or whoever, some of you are.
Yeah, and then if Denise wants to participate, maybe she could call in, because she would need to
Right.
hear it. If we.
Right,
mute.
okay, so then what about this suggestion of making a little team kind of right here
Yeah.
and then making a team back there?
So you get
Kind
a
of
little
far
bit of
away,
space.
so we have enough auditory space. I mean, is that a speaker over
Yeah,
there?
yeah, the speakers all.
Oh.
In the kitchen? Maybe? I think that's like better than trying to do this whole Zoom thing.
Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Let's
Let's
try
go
it.
for it.
If it's too chaotic,
Yeah.
then we will.
All right, so we'll have, if it's okay, the three of you can be here and then ask you two to go there. We'll get you prepared
Yeah, we'll get some chairs and.
and bring us Zoom.
Maybe just have the chairs right there by the TV.
That's my work for.
Is there sound coming out of that TV?
There is.
Okay, sure, that sounds good.
Flip, yeah.
Yeah, since we're not changing, I'm asking.
Yeah, let's try that.
So if we have the
Maybe, I don't know if I can bring the camera all the way over.
two of you going there and then the three of you going to.
I can set up there.
Or just maybe,
We have to be,
oh, you still can't, right?
We have to be in the room.
In the room. Could you be back here and still make it work? Or is that still?
Oh, yeah, it'll go over.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Should have really strategized this more fully. But
No, it's okay. I mean, it's new for us.
To do it here, but then that way that,
We don't have anybody from the
do you
public
think you
watching,
can,
do
you
we?
want to just stay right here and
Yeah.
kind of move over a little bit facing the other direction? Just that way you're staying in the range. Thank you for being so flexible over there.
that's us.
All right, yeah, I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes on these props.
Oh, no, no. Do we, are we just comparing?
is there any way we can run the sound here for the meeting?
Let's do it on cell phone.
What do you mean?
Something and just have it up here.
Sure,
I
that
think
sounds good.
that's gonna cut to the chase.
Okay, we're gonna call you in a minute.
Or she doing these, call me, right? I don't know.
So where do you, what's your number? I'll put it in the chat.
4155.
SC,
Zero 6.
yes.
So I'm more in the center, you're more in
So I'm.
Oh, no.
I'm all right there, I'm just, now, there she can see you. And then we'll just have a speaker phone. We're gonna figure this out.
Where were you?
SC.
Yeah, you're on speaker. Got it. Probably not. So you don't pay for it. Oh, right. Or it can make it work.
Are you-
Right there, and then they can all talk.
So I know that I'm not
You can see each other.
on it, so not super strong, but not. I think she said I'm like pretty good
You're like in the
level.
middle, yeah.
Mhm.
There.
It's like. Can you guys hear me? There, oh, yeah, it's good. Okay. All right, so super. That's the questions.
I think we're good. There's a chair for you.
Well, let me sit over here, but because I want to give you all space, I'll just be here to help, but
So
these are. So
conscientious.
about sharing about your disc profile.
I'm overall want to be known as
how
someone
it
people
shows
can
up
count on.
And some of what really resonated for you, probably not all of it.
Have more patience for routine projects.
Information to share with one another.
I plan ahead and I allow enough time to complete my responsibilities.
I don't necessarily agree, just I'm a little procrastinating. Okay,
Yeah, he sure did talk about like that resonates and then the piece of it and about the
And so.
connection to the gap.
Okay.
Yeah, with other styles and strengths.
Showed up for you. Okay.
I think it's good what you were doing.
I.
Making sure you
Very close to
get to the other ones.
And you're giving us 15 minutes?
Accuracy.
I'm gonna check in on 10 minutes, see how you are.
It's high on action.
Yeah.
But not always high on
Capacity.
accuracy. Yes, is that true? You probably want to move things along quickly. And you get frustrated with your work caused by others. Oh, that is
So like,
so mean.
Working steadily
Right?
towards.
My favorite saying was, this.
Bringing
is all
organization
talk, no action.
Decide.
Yeah.
So developing orderly plans, being safe, predictable.
Yeah, what's on your to-do list?
And
when
what
you get
stresses
crossed off?
me,
Yeah.
making decisions without time to weigh the
What's your priorities?
with angry or argumentative people. Working without clear guidelines. Having to argue to make my point, dealing with confidence, working in chaotic environment. Improvising a new course of action, taking risks and initiating change, being under pressure to act quickly. I think that's the one that hits me a little bit more.
So sort of the symmetric opposite of Carol, but
You
you know,
wanna-
you're closer to the center. A lot of times we would say that that's a little more green.
I can go, yeah.
You might be a little
Number
bit.
6 is that
your,
what this-
I think you're probably.
Yeah, I'm looking at these questions.
Yeah, just later.
So
They-
my idea style was the,
Other types of.
I-
women's-
and I'm like right on the edge.
So I might identify where the. I'm sure if that.
But just want to highlight some goal-oriented person. Strong ambitions to protected a high profile science. Likely to be extremely passionate. Strong ability to persuade others to adopt their vision.
I do tend to like probably at the.
It's,
What would I pick? Where do I feel like I?
However, people who are more analytical may challenge some aspects of their plans.
You know, in that support
And may need to delegate more in-depth responsibilities to others. Level one to-
Out of distrust that they won't be able to like.
It's not that, it's just that it's a control thing,
Okay.
more than that. So I think it's the perfectionism.
Uh-huh. No, yeah.
Because I delegate a lot of stuff, but I think it's more of that feeling of having to have control.
It could also be that
But
that's your.
having influence, you may strive to be among
Yeah.
the inner circle.
So
in order
consider that sometimes what we tend to be strong at is also what we
strong
can
need to be
bring
heard.
influence into the environment.
And do
And so
that.
even if it's chaotic, if you
A
tend
lot
to
of
be
that comes from
seen and calm
subconscious as a
person,
child.
there's that mood contagion. Right? Like when that,
Um,
don't you have that when I was
Most likely enjoy meeting new people, which is definitely true.
Just reciprocal.
Brings
The comment.
Yeah.
Like that same line, yeah.
And building on a large network of friends and associates.
chaotic
When
situations that you might.
conflict arises, I try to focus on the positive, it's definitely true.
Allow for
Huge fan of conflict whatsoever.
Others have
Um,
their thoughts together.
and then not afraid of the unexpected.
Which is right? You're
I
like.
the people to.
Would you vote?
Motivators, sort of.
Or maybe it's not even today.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, let's talk about this tomorrow,
Yeah,
but the next
never
time.
just
So
look
the main
back.
defining aspects of my work is developing new relationships, persuading others,
There you see.
initiating colorful projects, achieving immediate results,
No, it's.
being enthusiasm, momentum, looking toward challenging goals, and inspiring others to do their best, being the center of attention, and setting bold objectives.
It's pretty good.
It's so funny when people kind of, yeah, you just go, that's the best type. And then somebody does their type, well, that's the best type.
Between center.
But then I also, like
That's-
stressors, and you went this too.
Is very similar to your vocation.
Sustaining interest in routine projects. I'm not a fan. I mean, I can do them, but I think especially like in my work and yours was a lot, and it's similarly too, is like things are changed different day to day.
Your sweet spot.
In your work. So those can be stressed about just the routinity of everything.
You can.
Having to moderate your pace, I like to go at my own pace, just be pretty fast.
Be.
Partnering with overly cautious people, tend to be a little bit more
But the way that.
a risk taker
Who it's
than
like
others.
preferences.
Following strict rules or protocol.
That was
the stress of
critical
Yeah.
thinking, curiosity, even being a challenge. You know,
And
sometimes it's interesting.
um,
Hey, we all agree this is the right.
using a
decision.
slow
But
systematic.
that C energy,
That's
one person that will say.
bureaucracy.
"Don't fail everyone."
Yeah.
You and I have very opposing.
Yeah, but that's like how.
The things that you do that are kind of contrary to what
Yeah, I won't
I,
do
my
that.
style.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's funny because when it talks about how you relate to styles, so.
Yes.
Relationship with my son, relationship with yours, Greg.
Yeah, that is
To
such
you
a
people,
good
style may seem
play.
talkative, energetic, scattered, and emotional.
Say you
Yeah.
that was full of optimists, where they're like, that sounds great,
I
let's.
like how it talks about, like, how you,
And nobody.
within the
would
different
stop
styles,
and
how
say,
you collaborate with others and how you can work better.
What if we, what do we do?
So with me,
Like,
see, what motivates me, the people, I probably enjoy many of the following aspects.
you look back and you go.
Contribute to each other.
Working
Working with people who genuinely care about one another,
feels good.
creating helpful systems and procedures, supporting people when they face a challenge,
That is.
being
something
complimented on a job,
that-
just surprising.
People,
I think
it
that's
doesn't
not as
really-
positive.
You may not like it.
doesn't fit you that
I
well.
don't
Yeah,
think so.
that's fine.
Or the one.
I said I'm a working.
You up at night,
behind
say, that's the other one I.
That's the way I usually would introduce myself,
Yeah.
when I used to work for people that actually
Like, right, let me get my list.
are progressing steadily toward a goal, working with people who sincerely listen to your concerns, being around people who are empathetic and accepting. What is stressful to me would be dealing with angry, pushy, or argumentative people, working under pressure, making forced decisions, working without clear guidelines,
Together, like.
giving people negative feedback.
The big
being
reveal.
with others,
You know?
working in a
You don't
chaotic
see that.
environment,
Slide to show
taking
you
risks and having to argue from your point of
And
view.
it's great.
And those are things that I recognize I don't like, and that I have to actually work at doing, because
Just
in my job, I have to deal with all these things. So I have to have I have to compartmentalize my own personal feelings to be the person that's
Even besides the titles, right, that you were taking,
and
that,
firing
almost like the different
you
hands.
will do this.
Okay.
But I bet you do it with such
And this is another way.
gentleness, that you change the process.
I think I have.
Even though
a
the
very-
outcome has got to be the outcome.
Yeah, I think I am very process oriented when I do that, to try to take the people feelings out of there. Because I do know that it's necessary, but this is probably what I disagree. Well, I agree that they make me feel uncomfortable. So yeah, I guess it is.
So I think that like you and I are both on the S. I'm a little bit more towards the C, like a SC. And so, and I think that
I'm more in the middle, you're kind of more.
I'm closer to like the C. I think that,
Right, yes.
you see that, and I think it shows, because when we have conversations, I know that like you understand like my point of view, and it thinks within like my perspective or whatever I'm communicating with you. Not that I have a hard time with like other like board members, but I can see that like the way how we conversate or we chat about things is different. I mean, just like the tone, right, or like understanding where coming from, either you are understanding or you're just
A sounding board. I'd like to be a sounding board.
yeah. And so when it comes to like your stressors, again, there might be somewhat similar, but I think that for me, what I oftentimes do, or I feel like I'm effective at doing, is I do have, like, there is conflict. I try
To
to
also
be
watch out for each other in that way, because.
We're separate,
In the
like,
dynamic,
emotion,
we're being- I wanna be sure.
And I think that helps me actually
Oftentimes
find
you're
a
gonna see
solution quicker. That's what I see.
Speaking up.
Sometimes you
Catalyzing.
the people
And,
are
you know,
really
to see D and I turn back to the group and goes,
what's happening.
what about
And you're like,
everyone?
but like,
Right, so then I think that conscious knowing that even
emotions or your feelings,
feelings, the airspace.
an issue at hand, or if someone's,
Knowing that value is, to be able to use your time to then find ways to.
where they're treating you.
So that, like, I think that's
Good,
also another
you
thing.
differentiate. They're not treating you that way.
No matter what you're
because
typing,
They're treating you that way because
more aware
like you're not
of others.
or you
to meet your goals.
Just put the slide up, you're gonna go to the next, because it's helpful for your conversation right now. You can see the strength of, or like how purely you are.
You bring that in and make sure
So the further towards the outside line, the more true to type you are. The closer you get to the middle, the more you're like, I'm kind of sort of, C, but I'm also kind of leaning into D. So it's, and also we'll talk about this as a full team. There's just so much diversity. You all hit like every spot,
Yeah.
which isn't always what you see.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a, anyway, so if that's helpful to look at, understand where there's some places where you do behave differently than.
Four of us are more or less.
Yeah.
And Karen and Greg are more the influencers.
Yeah, and we're gonna go into whole kind of, I don't mean to distract each other, but that's what it is. I think it's your conversation.
Yeah, because Chris is an administrator, he's a numbers guy that he would be like Karen.
Yeah.
I do, but at least making sure that we acknowledge like.
And back to your discussion with yourselves, we'll go, we're gonna have good conversations with this.
I guess how do, I find myself,
When somebody brings forth ideas, I think it's
board member,
important
I'm gonna be honest.
acknowledge
I have artists.
your input as, being helpful.
Is that why?
Yeah, and look at, isn't that interesting? And he's the only one in that quadrant. Now, other people are close, we've got Greg and Carol close in, but yeah, that's like, you're coming from a really different place, right? And he's like
do them all, right? So I
making,
think
kind of having the right terms of relationship.
both in general, with the staff,
I hope he
do all that.
to the session.
I think he shared with you that was useful, so that was valuable.
Oh, we just can't see him.
He can't answer all of these.
So he's in that group.
So I think that feels like it's another, like that internal communication and how does that other group start to.
He goes on and then he's in.
With Greg, I think, I see him as an influencer, and I think I try to get him on my side.
That way,
Mhm.
creating conclusions. And it doesn't mean everyone everywhere all at once.
Yeah, and
There's
actually,
no way of
like
making,
the Estelle and you,
if you're asking people to contribute, that they know that's what they contribute.
like providing support,
Contribution.
having good listeners,
People with
accommodating.
style like to dive
To your
in.
point about getting you on, but
Yeah.
ability, creating collaboration.
Progress rapidly.
Because these are interesting when you go down to see how you interact with the other style.
Yeah.
And maybe break things too.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So my niece is being in the ed, she's an attorney, I think I would see more of
Actually found
her as
a
an
natural
influencer.
segue into the next.
Says
Okay.
Which is
she tries to influence.
or to
No.
an individual.
But I think maybe that's what she's.
We're able to that. Oh, I see, sorry, okay.
Well, no, I just found that out.
Yeah,
too.
this is not.
Maybe
I know that
of an
We'll
influence,
jump
right,
back
because
over
it's
it.
more to the
So links, when you can, just
circumference.
migrate over here. We'll-
That's strong.
Stronger one, yeah.
Yeah, but you are.
And so you and Yvette are.
Finding any other
Very-
things as you're looking, I know
Mhm.
it's maybe you're confused, don't get it yet.
To see.
People.
I'm just laughing at myself.
It's a healthy thing to do though, right?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I think that part of the goal.
So how do I
is
work
to
better
also-
with
The
the
first goal is.
So then on your paper, you go
Right here.
and then with a D, I think it's the first one. It says how you might react to their style.
So.
And then it tells you
Even though this is my preferred.
like we make a motivation for the behaviors. And I think that kind of gives you a little bit more of an
Relationships and based on collaboration.
Mhm.
Like a journey, right? The first one's like, oh,
So style and
then it becomes more ego personality, right? Like, oh, we're do that because I'm weak, over I do that. You know what? Instead, I think it's, maybe more about. That's what I bring.
Yes, like, yeah, I really-
I've also learned how to.
Oh, with Carol.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I totally see that.
You learn how to value somebody else for being different.
like seeing it on the chart.
Being as a like that.
Exactly.
yeah, I do see it now.
Interpret and having people that were.
Well, like, again, what I love about the model is it's nuanced. It doesn't, it's not literally like there's 4 things to be.
Right.
There are these,
Because I was like,
you know,
it's done, we're good, it's gonna work, let's go.
and nuanced ways that you can show up, and you can really show up on any of these quadrants, really, just choosing to,
Optimistic,
because it's just about changing.
railing, Not
And you don't have to change it
believing,
permanently either.
intentional.
Change it situationally.
Appreciate that actually made for better outcomes.
Your C coworkers want
I was trying to get them to
consider all the consequences.
come over here so we could keep, this could move along.
And that's how it's like, oh, come on, I can do it. We did.
Didn't take risks, trust my gut instinct. huh?
See, we can work well together then, 'cause look, that's one of my, we gotta wait, what are the pros and cons?
Exactly. Yeah. I've already thought of them all.
Yeah, I know I can.
They're too much fun over there.
Everybody want that do it together in the larger.
Let's do it.
I think we're really starting to overlap. All right. And getting to that thing, like, well, what do we do? How do we show up, et cetera?
Thank you, Anise, for your flexibility and figuring out how to do this and.
Thank you.
All right. Back to the larger group then. Bye.
And I think you're methodical.
Do we go back? Benji, your clicker's working yet. I think it just wasn't switched on for the presentation, so it's working. There you go. What it needs to do is like, maybe you clicked on something else, like something.
Anyway, whatever. Working. So I was noticing with this group, there was this, we were naturally shifting into, and sort of like over there as well, naturally shifting into the more like a broader team insights. And there's a lot of conversation about when you do notice a behavior that somebody's portraying like this, and whether you kind of try to match that, or do you really stick with your own way of behaving. So, you're also competing with people who have a lot of life experience, so you can trust yourself to make good choices. And it's very helpful to think about, well, who's my audience? So, it's just sort of to lay this out, the further towards the outside, the more strongly you represent that, the clearer you are. If it's a little fuzzier as you go in, you're more tied to the other types of the other types. And so, you have a lot, you're just so diverse. It's amazing. Like, you have somebody in every quadrant, which is not, you're a small team. That's kind of impressive and speaks to the voting process, I guess. And it's really a huge strength to leverage. And you can see your least, the drive is kind of where you have the least tendencies, if you will. The behaviors of drive are not showing up as much in other, it's really isolated to Daniel's way of operating. But close over to the influence, he's definitely it's not like over here, he's there. So what do you notice? Where do you think there could be challenges? And really most importantly, how can the board leverage and complement the team's profile more fully in conversations and in decision making? How do you see that operating?
This is helpful to, like Kim said earlier, to be able to see things, see that person in a different light, and to understand how you can better work with that person. And that's what we're doing I was trying to say, okay, how do I work better with Greg? How do I work better with Daniel? So understanding what is their style, but I was also trying to connect it with what they do for a living, because I was thinking Anise is an influencer, because of what she does, and I'm surprised that she's a supportive person. And I thought Carol would be more of a support person because of a nurse. But it's so funny that I see, right, and finding out that how you perceive yourselves is
I'm
different.
always ready for code blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would think that because of that, you have the life and death situations that you would deal with, similar to what Daniel does, that maybe you would be more of a driver because of, just those kinds of experiences. But so, yeah, just being able to see people the way they perceive themselves, and being able to understand how they perceive themselves a little bit better for my understanding.
Nice, thank you. Good insights. What else? Dan, yay, good to see you, Dan.
Hey guys, how are you?
You dropped in at a perfect spot in terms of really synthesizing the meaning to the team about the individual results and really trying to think through how to optimize. Because I'm so impressed by how diverse the team actually is on these scales. And so it's really a strength.
Oh, do you have those results to share?
Oh,
Do you, if you look for your other window,
Oh.
where you, the slides.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty
Sorry.
solid in the, oh yeah, I see it now. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm standing alone in the D, aren't I? Look at Yvette. Yvette, you're like split in the middle. That's not a surprise for me. That one's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I'm DI.
Where are
It
you?
says-
Oh yeah, you're,
It says you're just style ID.
Yeah, but you also have what the strength factor is of that.
I got
So
it.
the dot, where the dot shows up, there's like a zone, right? And
oh,
there's like a triangle slice, if you will.
Okay.
And
Wow.
the closer you are to the middle, the stronger you are.
So you are
Middle
closer to
slice,
Daniel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where am I? What does that mean? What am I
So
then?
where you are is you're definitely in drive. That's a strong aspect of yours, but you're not like, you can't see what I'm doing probably, but you're not like in the middle of the pie slice on the outside.
Yeah.
You're towards the influence. So you've got a kind of heat map that includes influence.
Oh, that's cool.
That way.
So you might
Yeah.
describe yourselves as a DI. Your primary style is D, but you also have a lot of I.
I got a
if
lot
you-
of I.
If you look in your reports, I think some of you
Yeah.
have them,
Like-
you see the, thank you, that's great. You can see the range, I don't know what they call that, the shading there that
Shading.
shows you the zone that you can operate in. That you're most comfortable operating in. You can operate in all these zones, that's also a real takeaway, right? And I was hearing people talking about how they do that.
Oh, this is very cool.
So we started a little conversation over in our group about what do you notice? Where could there be challenges? How can the board leverage and complement the team's profile more fully? Let's bring it into the large group and really look at that fully and think about what tensions might there be given this, and then how, most importantly, I think is that final question about how could you leverage this? How could you work with each other a little differently to be even more effective?
That it's good that we're all so different, right? Because we're different, but we're the same, because we all have the same mission, right?
Yes.
Of what we're doing. So it's good that we're all in different places, because maybe some of us don't understand so much the other ones, like where Daniel is, or like for myself, I'm not too much on those two. So I don't understand them, but by listening to them and communicating with them, then I learn to understand them, and understand different point of views that might not cross in my mind, and I think it's good that we all have like differences, because if we collaborate together and we have communication, I think that's what makes us go through on what we're doing for the community.
For somebody that really prompts this notion of feedback as well, whereas, if you're really finding you're struggling with the person's style and way of being, you can, kind of pause and say, hey, I'm just noticing that because I'm in this, influence area, I'm really kind of having a hard time with your need for just all that clarity, and you're talking to me about this and that, but I really need this picture of how's it going to turn out? Where are we heading with this? So that can become more transparent, and you can give each other better feedback because you've got a new language.
I can also, go ahead.
So, I'm going with what Yvette said, that it's good to see that we all come from different sides of the pie here, and that it makes us more fuller. But I'm just curious, with Chris being the only one that's in the clarity, again, I think of him as an administrator, so he's a numbers guy. He's very, straight line and add the numbers and whatever. But with him dealing with board members that are all over the place, I guess I just want to, I'm just wondering, how do we reconcile that, and how do we work better to make that a more healthier relationship or even stronger, better relationship?
That's really a question for the group, although I do want to point out, there's different language that's used in different, for this same model. And this word clarity can also speak to conscientiousness. And conscientiousness has the priorities of ensuring accuracy, et cetera, and motivating by opportunities to use the expertise, gain knowledge. The fears are criticism. It's the same that you have on your handout if you care to look at it. So just again, knowing that you're coming from that place.
What I was going to mention was, so for example, within my style, one of the things that it says that like aspects of work that I enjoy is catching errors or flaws in design. And I think I catch myself doing that when I'm making questions because I want to like understand the process, I want to understand the logic. And so sometimes I'll question or I'll ask staff, right, or my colleagues, or give me more like either more information, right, or try to guide me through the process because I'm thinking, okay, let's see if we catch a flaw, then we can address it and then we can move on and continue with the process. So I noticed that that's something that really does like resonated with me, like that one in particular. And it's not that I'm like nitpicking, like I'm not trying to see what you're doing, or I don't want to catch you in a mistake. I don't want to see where your error is. I just want to identify it so that we can work on it so that we're not, step number 20 and then realize that we forgot to do something the second step, And so I'm trying that. I'd be patient with me, guys.
So that's a good point again, because I believe that as board members, that we all have to understand and I believe respect each other, that we all gonna have different opinions and there's no right or wrong. But when I think of our CEO, what you just said, by you just exhibiting how you want to understand something, that could be perceived by him as, oh, she's not happy with me. If you asking that of Yvette, she probably wouldn't take it the same way, or of me, because we're fellow board members. We're all like equal. You're not
Power dynamic.
He's not your subordinate. And I think that that's a really good point, because I really want to be able to understand that position on how to better work with him, because whether I work better with you all, it's not as important as it is working with the CEO to me.
And then I'll share an aspect that like stresses me out, which one of them is making a decision without time to weigh in the pros and cons or being pressured to act quickly. So for example, if you put me in a room with someone else and you want me to answer their questions like on the spot, or if you start questioning me about things, I'm like in shock, right? Like at that moment, like I don't know what to do. So then I just won't say anything or still stay quiet, right? And from my perspective, like I respect, right? Because others might need an answer, might want an answer, but in reality, that's not how my like clock works, right? So I do need time. And so I know some other people, they like to be, put on the spot. They like to answer right away, or sometimes they don't even answer truthfully, but they have an answer, right? They answer your question. They didn't even really answer the question, but they said something, right? And for me, I'd rather not answer a question than say something that's not true. And so I also share that, right? So that you understand that sometimes I'm not necessarily avoiding something. It's just not how I process things. And so, I mean, I really did enjoy.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like, that's great that we have a little cross dialogue too. What's your response to Jim's, what she said?
And I'm gonna bring this to be on the vulnerable side, just because sometimes you don't want other people to know how you're thinking, right? Like, and I'm okay, right? I'm the one that mentioned vulnerability. Like, I'm okay, right? Because not that I'm here so that everybody can understand how I think, how I act, no, it's just maybe more like to have a little bit a better understanding, because I try to do that of my colleagues and be patient, right? And then also seeing how you work with the others and like what the other categories stresses you. It's like, okay, I can see that. And so now it's like, it's just not that it stressed me out. I can deal with it, right? I can just see where they're coming from and be able to better understand and respect how they're coming to a conclusion. I mean, when we're talking about making a decision of the board, it's me understanding, okay, like this is where they're coming from. If it's someone maybe similar to me, like I'll
give them the time to come up with an answer, to be able to say what they need to say and stuff. I am really liking this activity.
I see you in that way. Like the way you ask questions and the way you come across, like I see you as that type of person. Like you want to see the root cause and you want to make sure that your decision that you're making is one that you're not gonna regret later. And I understand that too, because I'm like that. I'm like, every time I think of something, I overanalyze.
Yeah, someone similar proximity.
Straddling the.
You guys are so close to.
Proximity, yeah.
I'd love to hear from the people who are remote also. I know it's hard to get your voice in, so jump in. Invite either student to share a little bit about these questions. It's a battle.
Yes.
Should I call on one of you?
It's like, don't run that one.
I got it. I am muted first. I figured it out.
Oh, it was that.
I was
Yeah, what do you?
clicking. No, I think these the DISC profiles are always helpful in a group that's definitely from multiple backgrounds, and we're trying to collectively come together to work on a big project and solve a big problem, because it really points out the strengths of certain people, and then it also points out the weaknesses in the other people too, based on where we're all kind of located. I thought it was interesting that none of us are very task oriented. Nobody's very far over into the task orientation, which makes sense. Like we're not on staff at the healthcare district, right? We're not the ones executing the task. We're the ones that are kind of setting a vision, and whether we're more on the driven side, influence side, or the support role side. I think that was an interesting thing for me, is nobody was far off to the left. There are some of us far off to the right. I think Letty was far off to the right, which makes sense with everything she does in her life. And, she's way over there on the people side, which is great.
I would consider myself a leftist, but okay.
What'd you say?
I always consider myself a leftist. I'm right.
Oh, you're on the right, Letty. You're on the right. You're on the far right. But I think that's very helpful, especially as we begin to make big decisions for the healthcare district as a whole. I think what you said as well, Kimberly, about just pausing and thinking a little bit before we make decisions is important. And I think keeping this DISC profile up while we talk, and kind of like, hey, this is probably where we're speaking from based on our skill set and our background, helps me a lot to try to understand where your point of view comes from. And obviously mine was very high up in the D and the I, but that's not a big surprise, but it also means that I have to be a little more cautious and I try to be. I'm not great at it, but I try not to jump in and speak right away or drive to a solution without hearing all sides of it, because I know that I have a tendency to just execute right away, and that doesn't work when we're trying to make large, long-term strategic decisions. So it's fascinating to see that on us.
Thank you. It's awesome. And I love the idea of just really using this as an ongoing tool.
Yeah. I would love to have it up during the meeting. Yeah. Seriously, I would love to have it printed out on just put up there, because I'll pause and look at it when I hear you speak, and I'm like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I get it. Like I get what's driving your decision on what you're doing based on, kind of how you're wired. So.
And it's interesting because like towards the bottom end of the profiles, it tells you how you relate to others, how you see others, right? And so as you're speaking, it's funny because it says like, to you, people with the D style may seem forceful, blunt, demanding, or rash. And like I see them, like, I don't think because like I see it, but like it doesn't bother me, right? But I mean, I could see how like our styles differentiate.
Yep.
And so I'm cool with it. Like I said, it doesn't bother me, but like I see it.
Yeah, it's very clear.
So is that describing you?
No, that's how I would see someone.
Okay.
That's how she sees me.
See that in you?
Yeah, no.
That's why she
Someone
sits like
you.
two or three seats away from me every time.
Yeah, we gotta change that.
Yeah, well, and also that, there's even though, in that little square and caught into that wiring, as Dan put it. It talks about, at the same time, you often turn your focus to cooperation and group effort, which is not typical of an ID style.
Mhm.
So, that there's a little break in the pattern
Yeah.
that,
It's really important to
You-
notice the
you
details
may
there.
enjoy including others in important decisions and activities. So, that's sort of off kilter for somebody who's direct and
Mhm. So
influential.
that's in your report, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're describing. So
Yeah.
yes, it's really important to note that those kind of overlaps or areas that really are maybe don't feel like they're so type and
Mhm.
yet they can be within your behavioral
Mhm.
style.
Well, that's also because we're all multidimensional.
Yes.
Mhm.
When I said before that I see you as a nurse, and so I would see you more on the task focus side. But then I see you as a board member, you're more of the people focused. So in the different roles that you take on, that's why it could be different, I think
Mhm.
opposites also a little bit. Because you're able to
Yeah.
wear different hats.
That's right.
I'm gonna invite Anise to share if you're ready for that. Please.
I'm ready.
Excellent.
Well, I was just kind of reading through a little bit more about connecting further down in the report where it kind of talks about how we can connect with the different, zones or whatever we're calling them. And I kind of so when it's discussing how when problems need to be solved, right? So when it's, when you're working with the D, it's like, all right, we need to solve this, we need to solve it now. But, from the S, it's like, well, wait, we have to, weigh things. And then I might be more like, well, let's talk about it and really collaborate together and get to know each other and understand deeper. Whereas clarity might be more like, hey, is this logical? Let's go through each of the steps before we get there. And I think it's great to have this bit of balance because, we can, especially a lot of us are kind of, at least a majority of us are kind of over near that S. And we can take a long time, right, to make decisions because, of course, I'm right in there too. So I very much identify with, okay, how do we minimize risk? And, what are the pros and what are the cons? What are the steps we need to take to make sure we're going to be successful here? But by the same token, like a decision does have to be made. So I can see how, in taking stock of the fact like, hey, okay, good, we're going to have someone who's going to push us forward and then make sure that we're enthusiastic, right? Because I think we should find some joy and have some enthusiasm about what we're doing, but how that all kind of works together. Because I consider all of us to be problem solvers. We're looking at things and trying to determine how to solve these challenges that we're being presented with. And so I can appreciate that a lot of us are, kind of in that CS area, but I still think it's really important to, the spirit that you bring to the work. Also remembering the personal relationship aspect of it, because we are individuals working together, but also like we have to set a goal and we have to meet the goal. We have to get there. We cannot drag our feet, our communities, in many ways are counting on us to get to a decision eventually. So we have to get there. And so I think that working together, with all these considerations for how we're different, but also similar can get us there.
That was so true to type also. I mean, you really like, like the support, like yes, we can bring other people, isn't it awesome that we will do this, not just me?
Can't we all just get along? Right there in the S.
Inspiring, I will say.
After the healthy debate, then
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and you are actually, close into influence. So I think what you did just then models your stepping across that line right into influence, like through the words you were using. Yeah, thank you. Comments or questions and for Anise, any more? Right. Who else haven't we heard from around this? Gotten enough to say, everybody? I don't feel like you're.
Tindri, I'd like to reflect on something that you said, Director Barraza, about context. And I think it's like when you're behaving the way that you are, but people understand why and where it's coming from. So for all of you, it's like, well, I'm challenging or I'm doing this because I want to understand why. And I want all of us to understand why, not just a button pushing. So that idea, I heard that in how you were explaining that, because I think that helps other people to be able to understand why, like, why are we talking about this? Why can't we make a decision? Well, because it's really important. We want to make sure we understand. So I liked that. I really, because it helps me to understand, even if I'm not comfortable, like I want to just get stuff done.
Yeah.
I can really appreciate the value of why.
Letting people know where you're coming from, right? It's
Mhm.
not
Context.
necessarily on you.
Yes.
It's- This is, what I'm thinking, but yeah, context.
It's healthy.
I sometimes think I provide a little too much context. When they're like, come on, right? Like,
Well, and
geez.
again, this is an opportunity, and we're going to move into that content, not in the session, but just around feedback and how you give each other feedback. So maybe somebody can give you some feedback now that we have this language about it, and just to say, hey, you're just being a little bit too true to type, and I kind of can't get in. Right, so could I have a moment here? And people feel more comfortable doing that. It's like, oh, sure, of course.
And I think that part comes because sometimes people will come ask me things, right? Or they're having a conversation, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? Like, you want me to help you with a solution, and I know I have no idea, right? Like, what?
Yeah. Like, I need to understand the problem before I'm able to provide you with.
Right. And
Suggest a
Yvette
solution.
and Anise both said that they like to go through and examine all the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
Yeah, my response was, I already thought of them.
Yeah,
you're a driver.
Okay, that's the t-shirt. I already thought of that. Everybody needs a t-shirt. Sweet. Be thinking of
What would your
things.
business
Yeah, we will do this. Well, we won't even, we'll do it. I'll do the screen.
Right? Mine would say, let's go. Right? That'd be kind of funny to think.
I think it's nice that we did this because I understand, like Kimberly, I saw a little bit of how she's expressing herself right now, that she needs more time to think, like to process it and stuff. And I kind of noticed that about her. So when she asks questions, I just like, sit and listen, like, to hear what she has to say too.
Yeah.
But with this, it helps us understand also what each one of us needs in order to be able to make a decision and work cohesively.
Yeah.
That's what I think, like it's a lot easier. Now I can see like, okay, well, she thinks of her problem this way, or she thinks of this problem that way. And, just have patience and listening.
I think before we shift, I would like each of you to write down somewhere, what you're really taking away and when you're going to practice from this prior discussion we've had around this. Just to note to self, maybe what's your commitment to yourself about kind of what you learned here and how you could put it into action.
Anissa was how it was up.
I think it's just an icon.
Oh, I think it's Andrea's little hand cursor. I know. I thought.
No. It was up. It was up, but I put it down because I thought we were moving on. But just one parting thought on this before we move on to the next part, because I was considering something that Letty was mentioning earlier, that could you please go back to the slide that had all of our names on it? Because it's a really cool slide, and there we go. So our CEO, right? I guess because Yvette, you're kind of straddling the line there of C and S, but Chris is the only one, right? Solidly in C. So it kind of got me to thinking, as we're looking through like how best to work and, how best to support, our CEO, is so we can collaborate better together as, the board and the CEO, to acknowledge that, his being in a C, and how best can we work with, his personality, and definitely, meeting the same goals, right? Because I find, just looking in, because it looks like he's in CS. So, prioritizing stability amongst other things, right? And looking at it, it's not, you against me or me against you, it's us against the problem, right? As people say. And so really kind of considering approach so that we can encourage a more collaborative working relationship, because he is the only one solidly in C, right? And so I think it would be helpful, acknowledging that so that we can better all work together.
Right.
And I mean, just because I think it would be important in case we haven't like seen this part within that area, conscientiousness, like the priorities are ensuring accuracy, maintaining stability, challenging assumptions. They're motivated by opportunities to use their expertise or gain knowledge, attention to quality. Their fears are criticism, slipshod methods, being wrong. And then it says that we will notice precision, analysis, skepticism, reserve, quiet. Their limitations are overly critical, tendency to overanalyze, and isolates self. So I think these characteristics, I think, are very important that we keep in mind, because I feel that, or how I understand it is, that's how he's perceiving like our direction, our communication. And so I just think that it's important that we keep in mind, because like I mentioned, right, with sometimes I'm going through my thinking, my thoughts, and asking questions, I could be perceived as, you're being critical, right?
Yeah,
And so.
sure. And then that sparks a behavior that isn't productive for the.
And then like we were talking about, sometimes those things get in the way where it's in reality, like that's not, we're derailing from the focus or the issue
Yeah,
at hand. And then
That
those
clean.
start to.
Well, that spills over into the trust.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's what I didn't want to dwell on it too much because Chris isn't here.
Right.
But I think that's one of the key takeaways from this is, like I said before, we're all on the same level, but I want to improve how we can work better with our CEO.
Yep. So take that opportunity to write a commitment to yourself about, kind of this takeaway, the learning insight that you'll keep with you and be practicing amongst other ones. But what's the key or one that you'd like to capture before we move on? I guess we just keep going with trust.
Yeah.
Just
funny
mentioned
because
trust, so.
like within the S, one of our fears is offending others.
For us, yeah.
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 I'm like, yeah, true that.
You got one, or you're still working? You want to share your commitments so you're more, and hold each other accountable? Can we go through that quickly? Just let your.
Well, mine is just realizing the differences, and again, is analyzing how you can use the analysis to work cohesively and collaboratively, so.
And mine is just reviewing again the clarity persona and how I can work better with our CEO.
Great. Kim, what are you gonna? Okay,
I'll
one
skip
thing.
this text thing. I mean, overall of the exercise and
Just like the one kind of actionable thing, because sometimes we have these sessions and it's all like, but then you get out there and kind of, you get caught up in the dynamic that's always been. So the idea is what's one thing you can name that you could do differently next meeting or how you interact.
I guess maybe not taking too long to answer. That might work.
Great. All right. Yeah, that's good. All right.
But learn to understand others' way of processing decisions and taking actions. Because I feel like sometimes I do get frustrated when it feels to me like we're going down the when it feels like we're going down the rabbit hole. We keep on going down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, come on, dude, let's go, hurry up. Let's keep it moving. I think I need to learn to be patient and understand that we all have different ways of processing things and that lead us to taking action.
And I appreciate that you shared that because sometimes, and I had a conversation with Sindri, like sometimes there's 7 of us, right? And like I don't see a point for all 7 of us to like say the same thing, right? And so sometimes I'm okay to be on the quieter side, right? Because I mean, it's already been said, right? And
Yeah.
unless there's a political gain or some reason that you really want to be on the record saying something, like oftentimes, like I do not feel the need to reiterate what has already been said, right? At the end, it's a sentiment of the whole board. And when we're taking action on something, and so, and oftentimes we pretty much align in our voting. It's just been a few times where we're not, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, what were you mentioned?
Well, sometimes if we don't have something that, that really pushes us to, say that we're thinking something different, right? Then we don't, there's no need to, just talk. You just sit back. I tend to sit back and just listen to everybody's decision. And then if there's something that I feel that needs to get said, then I'll say something. But if not, for the most part, I agree. And I know that a lot of people probably think, oh, does she have something to say or
And she's
whatever?
not saying.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just because everything's been said already.
Yeah.
And I don't.
And for me, and I think that like you're as valuable as everybody else, or like I see us as equal. So like even if you're on the quieter side and you don't want to say something, like I feel like I don't use that against like board members the same way I don't use someone being very talkative, against them. So
Mhm.
I think it works.
Yeah, nice. And Carol, it's your.
Well, it's pointed out to me that I need to take time to listen to others' opinions.
You do a good job of seeming like you're doing that.
I guess I need to take more time and maybe internalize,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
not realizing that there might be more pros and cons to look at and be more deliberative. Yeah, but I do feel like I support all of you. That's one of my motivations.
Yeah. That's a great one. Okay, well, I think Dan doesn't seem to be on. Unless he's hidden.
He's not there.
He's here. Oh, there you are. That's two.
Okay.
And I can't believe how the time has flown. I just looked at my watch and 10 minutes going.
Well, he gets back on or
Yeah.
while he unmutes. I do want to share that I love hearing everyone's perspective. And of course, our staff recommendation and understanding that at the end, like we've entrusted them to provide a recommendation, but at the end, it's our decision if we want to take the recommendation, modify it, or or not take it. But I do like to hear everyone's perspectives and input because I see it as you're just opening my eyes, right? You're just broadening my view. And you might be talking about things that I'm not aware of, privy of. And so please do not be discouraged from sharing that if you believe that there's something to be shared. I don't see it as this is my point and you need to align with me, right? It's actually, that's what I appreciate about feedback. I appreciate about conversations, our board discussions is because we all bring our knowledge, expertise, values, our past, our lived experiences to make these decisions. And so I really appreciate listening or hearing from what everybody has to say. And I also appreciate when I share, and it's not that I'm trying to convince you of anything. It's just I'm trying to, provide my perspective on certain topics. And I think that's I would maybe encourage that we all keep that, open ears to what we all have to say, because I think that will only make us a stronger board and stronger decision making.
I want to say that it's okay if you say something
And then,
trying to have influence. That would be you, stretching up into this zone, which why not? Right now, that's the idea, is try out these behaviors that maybe aren't ones you're used to having, but will be additive in the moment that you're in with the team. So.
But next time, I'm gonna influence by violence. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get the chocolate.
The chocolate.
You're going to time out.
I think we all have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We just, our strengths are more
That's right.
in a detriment.
I think at a certain point in one's life too, unless you're really, I don't know, some kind of person who isn't interested in growth or you're not curious about people and yourself. I think that's just what happens, right? We just can build more and more capacity to be flexible, to try different behaviors without even thinking consciously, oh, I'm being all different right now. It's just like, this is what meets the moment. I'll be this way. So I think you're right, but especially if you're paying close attention to the impact that your communication has, you're going to find lots of different ways to get something across to different audiences. Well, there isn't really time to open up another section of our content because we only have 1 minute left. So I think we can adjourn now. Anything from you, Trust, you want to provide any thoughts and places?
Oh, well, I think what we'll do is share some of
Yeah.
what we created here today. So because I heard also that you really enjoy that view of seeing all of your types. So we want to make sure that you have that information. And
Yeah.
and also if any of you have ideas, so Cindy and I are going to start envisioning what the larger group session would look like. And we want to bring a little bit of this in, but have it be just about connecting in the larger community with the staff. And so if you have ideas, just either send them to Andrea to send to Cindy and I. If you happen to read an article or get an idea and you want to send that to us, we're very open. And we'll be working on that over the next few weeks.
And Dan didn't have anything to say.
There's something going on.
He went.
Some kind of problem because it looked like he was here, but he wasn't really. So I don't know. I'll follow up. I'm gonna follow up. I'm gonna follow up and see if I can add that to the next.
Well, you proved me right.
Oh,
Thank you. That was you walked us through and it was a very productive exercise.
This is all you. I have to say that there was so little, content. It was just you in this conversation. So I'm gonna turn that back to you all. for
Well, thank
compliments.
you. Do we have any closing comments from the board? No, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 5:30.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.